So I'm here in the Shiatsu Centre in Norwich with Zahra, who's helping me out. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone.
She's going to be helping me out this evening. And we've got a 1 hour webinar on treating fertility and menstruation with Shiatsu and TCM with me. And I'll just in case you don't know what I look like, I'll just put my picture up. So there, that's what I look like. We're going to, first of all, introduce you to the webinar system, find out how you can interact with us, how we can find out about you, and how you can ask questions and interact with us. We'll launch a few polls so you can vote, tell us a little bit about you and where you are and things like that. And then what we'll do then is we'll go into the whole subject of treating female fertility, which will cover the whole TCM terminology, look at menstruation in terms of yin and yang, and then also have a look at how we can treat female fertility through the cycle, through the menstrual cycle. We'll also, along the way, have a look at how TCM links with Western medicine. And then we'll also look at male fertility to finish up with. So I'll just keep an eye on the time so that we make sure that we can get through all that. Okay, the uterus, the heart and the kidney form the core of reproductive activity, and this is particularly for women, obviously with the uterus, but as we'll find out, it also affects male fertility, the kidney and the heart meridian. Okay, and we've basically got the uterus in the whole center of the whole story, and that's called Bao Gong in Chinese, and that links the heart and the kidneys together. And the connection between the heart and the uterus and the kidneys in the uterus are with the Bao Mai, which is the uterus vessel that connects it, and the Bao Luo, which is the uterus channel, which connects the kidney directly into the uterus. And it's a lot of the treatment that we do balances these two energies together to harmonize them, as we'll see as we go along. This might be a good time for me to mention that I have got a handout for you. It's in English, I'm afraid, for those of you who speak another language. It's in English, but it is quite a comprehensive handout with all of the tables and the diagrams from this webinar, which you can download from your control panel. It's in PDF format. If you can't have any problems downloading it, don't worry, because you can just email me and I'll send you a copy after the webinar's finished. Okay, so moving along. Okay, so let's have a look at some TCM and Western medicine connections and see the kind of things that we're going to be working on and talking about in this webinar. In TCM, the kidney Jing, or the essence, is really fundamental to reproduction fertility in both men and women. And in Western terms, what that corresponds to is the eggs and the sperm, as well as, of course, the constitutional strength of the client that you're working with. Okay, after the kidney Jing, which is the essence, we have the next most important aspects of fertility is the kidney yin and yang, and we're going to be looking more and more detail at that as we go on, because the balance of the kidney yin and yang, governed by the heart, is central to a smooth functioning menstrual cycle and fertility. And also for men, it's also very closely linked to fertility. So basically, all the reproductive hormones in Western medicine are kind of associated with kidney yin and yang. And semen is yin and sperm is yang for men. And in women, as we'll see later, the whole menstrual cycle can be divided up into a big kind of transition between yin and yang, which we'll do later. Now, if you remember the previous slide with the kidney-heart connection, the next most important thing is the heart, because the heart obviously is the center of the emotions, the center of the mind, and especially in the menstrual cycle, the emotional state of the woman, which is in Western terms is understood as hormones associated with the hypothalamus and the pituitary, that emotional state is really important for the smooth functioning of ovulation and also the whole menstrual cycle, the free flowing of the blood, and the whole smooth flow of the whole cycle. So after the heart, we've also got the Tcm concept of the uterus, which we just discussed before in the previous slide. But that in Western medicine, Baogong doesn't just mean uterus, it also means the whole reproductive system, really, including the fallopian tubes, the ovaries, and the cervix. So it's basically the whole reproductive system there. Okay. And the Bao Mai, which is the connection with the heart, is an emotional hormone connection, which we've just discussed. Okay, so that's the Western medicine understanding of that link. And the same thing with the kidney connection. That's also in Western medicine understood in terms of hormones. And although you can't obviously map one directly to the other, it's worth knowing something about how it connects. As we'll go deeper into it, you'll see that a lot of it is how you can understand what we know about the hormonal system and relate it to TCM and stuff like that. Okay, look. Oh my goodness. This chart is an adaptation from one that I found in a fantastic book, which I've linked you to in the handout by Jane Littleton on Treating Fertility with TCM. It's an excellent book, and a lot of the material for this webinar and the workshops that I'll be doing this month are based on this book. And what I've done is I took one of the charts from her book, and I've adapted. I've kind of swapped a few things around to make it more applicable to Shiatsu. So in the left-hand column, that's over here, you'll see I've listed all of the meridians or the organs. Okay, and I've changed the order around from her chart. You'll see if you do look in her book to make it fit the way we look at the body. So we've got the kidneys at the lower part of the hara, haven't we? We've got lungs and heart at the top, the upper burner, and then we've got, this is the middle burner. Okay. Now, when we're treating fertility in both men and women, what we're doing basically is we're checking out these things. These are the vital substances, the Shen, the Qi, the blood, and the Jing. What we're doing is we're treating these vital substances using the meridian system. Particularly these three all contribute to the Chong vessel, the Chong Mai, and the conception vessel. And those vessels or channels directly connect with the blood and the health of the functioning of the uterus, or the whole, or Baogong, which is the whole reproductive system. Okay, so, and this is kind of how it works. You have, I'll just mention Shen in a minute. Basically, let's start at the bottom because this is kind of the most important. The kidneys store the Jing, and the Jing underpins the kidney energy, Yin and Yang, which also is connected to the production of blood. The blood is produced by the spleen, but it's also related to the liver because the liver stores the blood, and the movement of Qi and the storing of blood is important, obviously, in menstruation because it helps regulate the regularity and the smooth flowing of the cycle. So we have the spleen making the blood, the kidneys storing the Jing, and we have the liver storing the blood as well and moving the Qi. Okay. So in terms of the Qi, oh yeah, sorry, and then of course the blood is also produced in the heart as well. The heart blood is important. That's also important on the emotional level as well. So we've got spleen and heart and kidneys producing the blood, and the liver storing and moving it around via the free flowing of Qi. Okay, so we've got production of Qi from indirectly from the kidneys, but also from the spleen and the lungs. So that forms the Qi. but you've also got the liver moving the qi, and this is particularly important in reproduction, in menstruation in women, and also in reproduction with men with fertility and sexual activity, okay? And that's why the liver's really important. And then also, importantly, we've got the heart, which houses the Shen, and it's very much concerned with the emotional state. And the emotional state, as we've discussed earlier, has a direct influence on the functioning via the hormonal system on the reproductive system and menstruation. So this chart kind of gives you an overview of the functions of all the organs or the meridians, the vital substances, and how they feed through into the reproduction, through into reproduction. Okay, and we'll be revisiting all this in more detail as we go along. Okay, let's see what the next slide is. Oh, I think I know what this is. Oh, it's a chart. Okay, here we go. This is going to be a recap of what we've just talked about. Let's just see if I've forgotten anything, okay? We've got the Jing, reproductive essence. Oh, this is a lovely Chinese term. Look at this, Tian Gui, heavenly water. Okay, that's what they call it, heavenly water. And that's the aspect of Jing that ripens at puberty. And you have heavenly water, men and women have heavenly water, and it's the mixing of the heavenly water that creates conception. So here we have the foundation of the menstrual cycle, conception and pregnancy. Okay, this is a lead into the next exercise we're going to do. So just to remind you that Yin is the cooling, nourishing and moistening function, and it links to the pituitary function, the ovary structure and function, and the egg response to the hormones and growth. So you need the moistening, you need the liquid aspect there, but you also need the dynamic aspect, the more active aspect of Yang, and that helps the actual activity of ovulation. The fertilization process is a Yang thing, and also the body temperature, because the body temperature is critical, as we'll find out later, for successful conception and pregnancy. So we've got Jing, Yin and Yang, which are governed by the kidneys, and then we have the blood. And that, as we just discussed, is produced by the spleen in conjunction with the heart and the kidneys. The blood is important, obviously, because we need to have a good supply of blood in the uterus for the embryo to implant in. And the condition of blood, whether there's scanty period, whether it's dark and things like that, are an important diagnostic tool when we're looking at reproduction. Okay, so we have the blood. And then we have the Shen, which is mental stability. And that's directly linked to the kidney yin and yang, because the heart and the kidney work together. Remember the first slide that we had? And particularly related to ovulation, because ovulation can be delayed or even may not happen at all if a woman's upset or there's some mental problems or discontent or emotional issues going on there. And then finally, we've got the qi, and that directs the egg down the fallopian tubes into the uterus. It also, the free flowing of qi is also important for the blood flow as well. So all of those vital substances combine together to provide a functioning reproductive system. Now let's see what we've got next. Aha, here we are, an exercise on yin and yang deficiency. Okay, so what I thought we'd do, just to break it up a bit, is to do an exercise all together. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to get a piece of paper. So we'll do that here as well. So if you just run and get a piece of paper, we're going to do a couple of drawings. What I might do before we do that is I might just launch another poll just to find out something about, let me just have a look and see what other poll I've got here. Oh yeah, let's find out a little bit about who you are. Let's find out whether you're a Shiatsu student, Shiatsu practitioner and teacher, other therapist or other. Let's find out. Wow. Okay. Any more people to vote? I'm going to close the poll. Okay, and share the results. Okay, look at this. Wow, 20% are 21% are teachers. So hello out there, and probably half of you are probably in Europe. So, yep, we're all Shiatsu people though, so that's great. Okay, so would you like to do an exercise now? And this is an energy-based exercise to give us an idea of the balance between yin and yang deficiency. Okay. Just to make it an experiential thing rather than looking at a chart. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take you into like a Qigong style exercise, and we're going to actually artificially cut off the yin and yang supply to our energy system, and we'll see what happens. And what should happen is we should be able to experience what it's like to have yin and yang deficiency. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stand up. So if you'd like to stand up. Okay, and what we're going to do first of all is we're going to establish a connection between yin and yang, between the cooling aspects of the body and the warming and moving. And we can do that through a Qigong position. So if you're standing, just stand comfortably. And then we're just going to align the spine, float the head up, relax your sacrum. Okay, so now let's just get in touch with the yin aspect. So we're going to open up kidney 1, which is the earthing point of the body, and it connects us with it's the most yin connecting point. And what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that it's like a root going down into the earth, and imagine that that root is allowing moisture and cooling aspects from the earth to permeate your body. So you're feeling kind of cool, relaxed, solid, nurtured, all those kind of things, and get that into every cell of your body. Okay, right, so now let's concentrate on the yang aspect, and we can do that by connecting with the heavens. You can connect with the heavens through the top of your head. You bring your awareness up into the heavens. I know it's probably night where you are now, but just to imagine the sun shining, the winds blowing, so you've got that movement and that heat. And just imagine that energy is channeling down through your body, down into every cell, and it's giving it warmth and movement. Okay, and just blend those feelings together, so you've got a feeling of nourishment and connection down into the earth, and a feeling of warmth and movement coming from above, and just let those merge together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create a feeling of yin deficiency and yang deficiency, and this is how we're going to do it. I'll just describe it to you. What I want you to imagine that you've got a piece of like a kind of metal plate that slides underneath your feet, okay, and it cuts you off from the earth. So imagine that your energy is blocked at kidney 1 and the soles of your feet. You've got no connection with the earth. So all you've got is the movement and heat coming in from above, from the heavens. But you've got no cooling and no moistening and no grounding energy from the earth. Just see what happens to your energy when you do that. Okay, notice where your energy goes, what it feels like. Okay, and now we're going to reopen. We take the metal plate away from underneath our feet, open up kidney 1 again, and bring that yin energy back into your body. What a relief. And that will cool everything down again, make it more stable. Okay, and then just shake that out. And then what I'd like you to do is do a drawing of how your energy was with the Yin Deficiency. So the Yin Deficiency is the cutting off from the earth. What does your energy look like? So you want to do a drawing of it. Make any notes as well on it of any temperatures or anything you felt. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. Right, so now let's do the opposite. Let's see if we can create a feeling of Yang deficiency in our energy field. Okay. Right, here we go. So getting back into this balanced connection again, opening up kidney 1, feeling the cooling, moistening, grounding feeling, connecting with the earth. Okay, and then connecting with the heavens, so you've got the warming, moving energy coming in, and that kind of activates everything. So you've got a balance between the cooling and the heating, the activating and the solid aspects of your energy. Got it? Yeah. Okay, so now the steel plate is now going to slide across the top of your head, across the top of your heart, crown chakra. Okay, and what it does is it cuts you off from all the warming, moving energy. So all you've got left with now, if you cut that off, everything is just connected with the solid, cooling, downward connecting energy of the yin. How does that make you feel? Okay. Right, imagine if you had to draw that feeling. But before we do that, we better balance ourselves up, hadn't we? So let's slide the metal plate out of the way. Bring back the yang energy again in through the top of your head, through the crown chakra. Let it go down into every cell until you feel balanced again. And you might just want to shake a bit just to let it all shake down through your body. Okay, so what was the yang deficiency like? Only allowing the solid and cooling energy. Okay, great. So if you want to type in the chat field or in the question field, you can just type in any of your experiences and we'll read some of them out as we go along through the rest of the webinar. It'd be great to hear from you. And if you do want to talk to us, we'd love to hear from you. You can always put your hand up and we'll unmute you if you want to make any comments. And please feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Okay, let me just launch one more poll, I think. Let's just launch one more poll as we go along. Here we are. What I would like to know is how confident you feel at treating fertility with Shiatsu. That's men and women. Just let me know how confident you feel. Okay, here we go. Look, we've got exactly the same number of people who are confident as unconfident, and most are neutral. So that's interesting. Only about a quarter of you are confident in treating fertility with Shiatsu. Well, let's hope by the end of the webinar, we've got another half an hour to go, we can change that. So great. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'll just hide the results. Okay, so we definitely need, as a Shiatsu group, we definitely need more confidence. And I think one of the things that I think I probably can contribute that is to also know what other treatment options are available, and also when we should refer clients to have other treatment as well as Shiatsu. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the, let's go a little bit deeper into some of the causes, the symptoms that you'll find, and how we can treat them. So this might be interesting for you. Let's just try that. Okay, and here's the table. So here we've got the imbalance, the causes, the symptoms, and the treatments. Okay, now, if you have a client who's Yin deficient, that means their essence is low. That's usually a constitutional thing. It's often a constitutional thing. It is influenced by age, and this is where the TCM connection with aging and fertility comes in, because as you probably know from the statistics, as women and men age, their fertility decreases. And of course, that's one of the reasons why there's so much IVF, being undertaken now, because women and men are leaving it later and later to have children. And that's, in terms of TCM, that's related to Yin deficiency. Also, if you have a lot of pregnancies, that can also influence the Yin, as can lifestyle. So basically, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll is the lifestyle choice if you want to reduce your Yin as fast as possible. And moderation of lifestyle helps conserve the Yin. This is a kind of thing you'll see as symptoms. You'll see a weak constitution. They may have an actual weakness in the constitution. Often it means late puberty, low fertility. And the other thing from an IVF point of view is if there is Yin deficiency, you'll find that they will have a poor response to fertility drugs. Now, if you get a client like that, it's probably a good idea that you tie your practice in with a good herbalist in your area, because herbs, Chinese herbs, are probably one of the treatments of choice for Yin deficiency. Obviously, Shiatsu can help to a certain extent, but if I have a client like that, what I do is I combine the Shiatsu with Qigong exercises. And what I'll do is I'll actually design and give Qigong exercises to my client. Okay, this can be done at any time during the menstrual cycle, and it's something that you really want to try and address as early as possible, because it's the most difficult thing to treat, obviously, because it's the deepest thing. Okay, here we have Yin deficiency. Now, hopefully this will make more sense now, because we've just done that exercise. So let's just see if we've got any feedback from that exercise. If you want to just type in, yeah, let's have a look. Oh, right, here we go. We've got loads of input. So let's just read some of these out. Helen, let's have a look. All right, here we go. Yin deficiency gave agitation in the heart. Yes, very good. Itchy skin, electrical feeling of inner heat. That's exactly right. And the Yang deficiency gave heavy legs, inner humidity, and a swollen belly. There we are. That's Helen's input. That's really good. That means it was a success. That's what's supposed to happen. Yeah, let's have a look at some more. Oh yeah, here we go. Yin deficiency. This is Lucio. Yin deficiency, heat in the kidneys, trembling in the knees, sweat, hotty feet, and fuzziness in the upper body. Yep. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, great. Helen's put in quite a few more. Oh, we've got loads of people typing in. That's really great. Yep. Heavy pulling down, chilly and squashing, Yang deficiency. Very good. That's Monica. And Jane felt wobbly without the yin, ungrounded, and the yang felt pressure, compressed. Yep, that's really good. Yin deficiency, warmth and heat, feeling up in the head. Yep, very good. That was Monica. Severio, yin deficiency created palpitations. That's a really interesting one because palpitations can be a sign of yin deficiency, especially if it goes up into the heart. All right, okay, great. So it's really good feedback from the exercise. That's absolutely right. So what yin deficiency does is it tends to make you anxious and restless. Look, here we go, dry or hot internally. And these are the things that can cause yin deficiency. Constitutional factors again, because it's linked with the Jing. And then we have overwork, very common, poor diet, very common, rushed eating, poor sleep, drug use, excess sex or excess pregnancies, all of those things you often you'll see in various combinations in clients. Now, the yin deficiency is difficult to treat, so this can be a real issue with women and men who want to conceive because they're often leaving it late in life, they're impatient, and that's very difficult because the yin deficiency takes time to treat. Really what you're looking for is you're looking for them to moderate their work, improve their diet, and particularly eat in a relaxed way because you need the nourishing aspect of the yin, improve their sleeping, reduce drug use, moderate sexual activity, especially in the winter. And obviously you can't really do much about excess pregnancies, but they're the kind of things that you should be advising your clients to do. These are the things you'll see. You've already discovered these really well from the exercise. This anxious, hot feeling, and you'll, now that you've experienced it in the exercise, you'll identify in clients that come in, and this is how it actually manifests in the reproductive system. What you find is you'll get vaginal and cervical mucus will be less because the yin, the fluids are less. In men, you get less ejaculate. You also get thin uterine lining. That's because the blood is part of the yin of the body. Scanty periods, that's part of blood deficiency, and also delayed ovulation. So all of those things you'll probably identify. Now, what can we do about it? Well, herbs probably a good idea, especially if there's a lack of time. A lot of these you can probably improve with lifestyle changes, making a regular routine, finding quietness in your life, and better sleep. But if there's a lack of time, then probably you want to supplement the shiatsu with herbs. The best time to treat is in the pre-ovulation or the yin phase of the cycle, and I've got a chart for that later on, and we'll just go over the whole different stages of the cycle later on. Okay, so that's your yin deficiency. Okay, so let's have a look. The next thing we've got is yang deficiency, and that's the one you experienced where you felt cold, lack of energy, tiredness, and heaviness. Remember that? And there it is. Look, tiredness, feeling cold. That can lead to ovulation problems because the yang moves the egg through the system and gives you a lack of energy. This is the kind of thing that can affect the yang. Constitutional factors again, because it's all to do with the kidneys. Miscarriages, abortions, overwork, all of those things affect the yang. When you go late to bed a lot, you're not getting enough rest, that again suppresses the yang. And here's another one, look, another important one, more of a stagnation of qi, emotional factors which lead to stagnation of liver and heart qi. Any chronic illness affects the yang because it's the moving part of the body. Now this is a particularly interesting one here, and that is yang deficiency can sometimes be related to invasion of cold, and there's a whole in Chinese medicine, there's a whole category of infertility related to cold in the uterus, and that's usually caused by either cold foods coming into the stomach, either swimming or getting cold during the period. So you could recommend, if you've got a client who's yang deficient, you should recommend that they don't get cold or go swimming during the period time. And also, this is another interesting one, if you go out in the cold and you're not dressed properly, then the cold can enter the body through the channel. So there's those three ways that cold can get in. And even from a Western medicine point of view, the temperature of the body is really important for conception and for fertility. So that's a Chinese medicine thing that's backed up by Western research as well. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? Well, again, if time is short, then you may want to consider referring your client out to have herbs to supplement the shiatsu. The other thing that's most important thing is moxa. So you'll be wanting to use moxa on all the points. Lifestyle changes obviously are important, particularly getting enough sleep. Early nights are the main thing that's needed. Okay, and the best time to treat that yang deficiency is in the post-ovulation phase, which we'll look at in a minute. Okay, so there we have the three main imbalances: Yin deficiency, Yin deficiency, and Yang deficiencies. What causes them, what you'll see when people come in, and also what you can do about it, and when you should do it. We'll look at the cycle a little bit later. Okay, and this is the second part of the chart. This is the same chart. This is the blood deficiency. Okay, here we go. This is another really common one, which is the main sign that you'll get when the client comes in is that they'll have scanty or no periods. They'll have a pale face. They'll probably feel weak and dizzy, restless, and insomnia are other also key symptoms, and they're all blood deficient symptoms. Now, if you've got a vegetarian client, they may be horrified when you recommend that they eat more meat, because in actual fact, if they've got a weak constitution, they may be doing a lot of work, and they have all these blood deficient things. They've really got to be careful of the diet, especially for protein levels. Okay. Also, of course, prolonged heavy periods, past illnesses, all these things can cause blood deficiency. Here's what we can do about it. We can give dietary advice, okay, which basically means protein and iron, or iron supplements, or blood tonic herbs. Shiatsu is also useful, and the best time to treat is the time immediately after the period, because that's where you get the blood deficient time, and that's when the blood needs to be built up. We'll see the chart of that later on. Okay, right, now we're getting into the zone where shiatsu is king. It's the best thing. And that's when we've got Shen Instability. Okay, the causes of that obviously can be very deep. They can be emotional states. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we, Zahra? We were talking just before this webinar, we were talking about one of Zahra's clients, and she was saying about how the emotional state, in fact, you got heart and kidney, didn't you, with this client? Yeah, heart and kidney. Basically, it's linked to the balance of yin and yang that comes from the kidneys. The emotional state, the Shen, directly relates to the kidneys, and what that can lead to is ovulation problems, irregular or no periods. Okay, and obviously that's can be a central issue. So if you've got a client who's got plenty of blood flow when they do have a period, isn't particularly tired, hot, or cold, in other words, they're physically fit, and what can often happen with these clients is that there can be no Western medicine. They have all the tests. There's no Western medicine indication why there should be any problem. In that case, shiatsu is probably the treatment of choice. And what we would do is we'd probably back it up with other things like recommending Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, and stuff like that. And the best time to treat is when the woman is leading up to ovulation. That's the best time. Obviously, you can be anywhere in the cycle, but that's the critical time, because that's when you want the qi to flow smoothly. Okay, which brings us neatly on to this part, this part of the chart, which is the final bit, which is heart qi and liver qi stagnation. And again, this is all linked together. Emotional factors, as I'm sure know, usually stagnate the liver qi and affect the heart qi. And when that happens, you're going to get these symptoms. PMS, which is basically, premenstrual syndrome or premenstrual tension, that's anger or sadness or a lot of emotions premenstrually related, and that's almost always related to liver qi stagnation. If you have any type of dysmenorrhea, like the period stops and starts, in other words, the flow is not smooth, that's again the liver qi not smoothing the flow of the blood. You can also breast soreness, you get that's a really common symptom, and cramping itself is another liver qi symptom. Okay. In these cases, so we've got these cases, this again, Shiatsu is probably the treatment of choice because it's very good at smoothing liver qi, and it's very good also at supplementing and regulating heart qi. Again, you'd probably want to link it with maybe some Tai Chi yoga related exercises. Meditation, of course, is good for the heart qi. You may want to send it to an acupuncturist, but I personally would suggest that Shiatsu would be the treatment of choice. So there's a whole category there where Shiatsu is definitely going to be right up there. And the best time to treat is obviously in the premenstrual period, because that's when you need the liver qi to be flowing smoothly. So if you can time the treatments, you want to try and time them during that period of the period. And I've had quite a lot of success using Shiatsu with clients like this, regulating the menstrual cycle by timing the treatments. Usually I give treatments monthly with exercises, and what I'll try and do is either pull the ovulation forwards, because quite often you'll have like an extended period, and you can do things like pull the cycle in tighter, so that it's more like 28 days, which is an important thing. And also you'll notice that you'll get changes in the cramping, all these symptoms here. And the other thing that you also will notice is that the blood color will often change. So if there's any darkness or clotting in the menstrual blood, that's a sign of liver blood qi stagnation, and that responds really well to Shiatsu, and the one will report that the blood is redder and things like that. Okay, we've only got 10 minutes left. Time has flown. So I don't know if anyone's got any questions or anything. I have got some more slides, and I've got one more I'd really like to go through, and I've got some other ones which I think I'm going to have to get you to download and just read up on your own, because it's all about treatment. If there's any questions, just type them in. Look, this is a chart again that I've adapted from Jane Littleton's book. I've actually put several parts of her book all together into this one chart, and this will give you a handy guide to knowing when to time the treatments that you give your clients depending on the patterns that they show you. Okay, so this is the yin phase and this is the yang phase, and you'll notice that the menstrual cycle is divided up neatly into the yin and the yang phase. And you'll see now, I'll just click these things. Okay, so in the first day during the period, we really want to regulate the blood and the qi. So you'll be doing things like regulating the blood and the qi flow, probably using the liver and the kidney channels. The idea is to keep the blood flowing smoothly. If there's any dysmenorrhea where it's stopping and starting, just cramping that goes on into the period, that's when you'll be doing that. Okay, now as soon as the period's finished, you get into this post-period time between day 4 and day 12, and that's the time, the critical time for supplementing the blood and the yin. So that's when diet is really important. That's when you should really emphasize dietary supplements and correct eating, relaxed eating. Remember, the yin time is the time where they need quietness and rest. Okay, what you'll find is the Chongmai channel and will fill up with blood. That's what happens from Chinese medicine point of view. And also you want to stabilize the Shen because the Shen is linked to the heart blood. So that's what will be happening around here. Okay, so then you've got from day 12 to day 16 around here, you're going to have ovulation. Obviously, ideally it's here, but it will vary. And around this time, what you're doing is you're supporting the blood and the yin, stabilizing the Shen. So it's a continuation of this. You're just getting ready for the yang phase. Okay, after ovulation, you're supplementing the blood and the yin again because you want to try and help the next period, the next building up of the blood in the uterus. But this period, this stage here, the premenstrual stage, that's where you are looking to boost the yang, because this is the main yang phase of the cycle. Okay, so what you're doing is you're basically supplementing the yin and blood all the way through here in the Shen. Whoops, wait a minute, it's just disappeared. I'll just go back to it. Just clicked one thing to one. There we are, sorry. Yeah, and it's in this stage that you're supplementing the yang. Okay, because that's the dominant movement of energy just around that time. So that gives you an idea of where you can, of what you can do when, and also to what to look out for as the cycle goes around. Okay, I'm just going to just flick through the next few slides, and I'm just going to refer you back to the handout. I'll just show you what I've got for you in these slides here. We've got this links the imbalance, which we've already covered, the treatment timings that we've already covered, the meridians, and here's just some suggestions of points that you might want to use. Okay, I'm just going to load these three up. And you'll notice that quite a lot of these points you use for everything because they're so good. The super points. Okay, this is again a revising of the treatment and when to do it, which we've already covered. Okay, so don't forget, Yin deficiency is the hardest one to treat. Ren 4, which is conception vessel 4, that's like really, really important. And then you've got bladder 23, that's the kidney U point. And don't forget that herbs and internal Qigong are probably a really good idea for this as well. Okay. Now, if you want to tonify kidney yin, then you've got these points. You've got all these points because the spleen 6 is for the blood as well. Okay, you've got conception vessel 4, that's the yin Ming Men point. Bladder 23 again, kidney 3 and kidney 6 are both points for kidney yin. And then kidney yang or yang deficiency, you treat again the kidney. You've got kidney 3 again because that's the source point of the kidneys. CV6, bladder 23 again. Obviously there are other points, but these are the real super ones. Don't forget, you're going to either be using Moxa or giving Moxa to your clients at that stage. Okay, so you can look these up in the handout, and there's a lot more in Jane Littleton's book, but I just thought I'd cover the main ones. Okay, I'll just hopefully leave 5 minutes for questions at the minute, just go through this. Okay, blood deficiency, don't forget the most important thing is to help them with the diet. Shiatsu is obviously very useful as well. These are the meridians that you'll probably end up treating because the liver stores the blood, the spleen produces the blood, and the kidney underpins the whole thing. Spleen 6, spleen 10 is a very important point for regulating the blood. Stomach 36 is good because it tonifies the spleen. Liver 3 is good because it treats the liver blood. Okay, and here we get into the real Shiatsu strong areas. We've got heart and heart protector meridians. Heart 7 is a brilliant point. And liver key and heart stagnation. You'll be treating the liver and heart meridians. You really want to make sure that you treat liver 3, heart 7. Also heart protector points are useful as well. They're all part of the fire element there. Okay, cool. There's loads more points you can use, but they're just the most important ones. And of course, as Shiatsu practitioners, we tend to use meridian work and subos as much as classical points anyway. Okay, great. Let's have a look at some questions. What have we got? Okay, how can delayed, very heavy periods be explained? Is that also yang deficiency? Okay, very heavy periods if they're delayed, usually that's a combination of the liver and the spleen. If the periods are very strong when they come on, really strong, and they're kind of gushing, that's usually to do with the liver, because it's usually to do with liver heat. And if you get delay periods, they're usually because the liver's not. There's two main reasons. One of them is the liver is stagnated, so they're not coming, or there's not enough blood. But if they're going to be heavy and they're delayed, it's almost certainly going to be liver key stagnation and the liver heat giving the very heavy periods. So what you want to try and do is you want to try and regulate the liver function. I would start treating just after ovulation. Try and regulate and balance out the liver meridian, and also check obviously if there's any other meridians. Let's have a look. That's Lucio's question, and let's have a look what else. Right, in a condition of yin deficiency, for example, what if in the Hara palpation we find a yang meridian as Kyo? Okay, right. Well, the thing is, you mustn't confuse, or we mustn't confuse Kyo and deficiency really, although obviously there are some correlations, but you've got to be a bit careful with this. Okay, now in terms of yin and yang deficiency, in TCM, we're basically mainly talking about the yin meridians because they're related to the Qi and blood, production of Qi and blood. And when we're working with Shiatsu, obviously we're going to be working with the yang pairs, and we work the yang pairs as well, but they're kind of helping out the yin organs. So for example, if we've got our client here with this Shen unstable and liver and Qi stagnation, we're almost certainly going to be, when I put liver and heart here, obviously I'm also going to include the small intestine and the gallbladder here, because with Shiatsu we're often going to be treating the yang meridians. Okay, so try not to confuse Kyo Jitsu, yin deficiency and yang deficiency, and the yin and yang meridians, because yin and yang deficiency can occur in the kidneys, which is a yin organ. Okay, so that's kind of like the TCM language. Let's have a look. All right, Zora says hello from Panama. Great, it's lovely to have you online for. All right, okay. All right, okay. Oh, this is an interesting question from Zora, right? I put neutral in confidence because there are some issues I'm very confident treating and others I'm not confident. What would you say about serious issues like uterine myomas, polycystic ovaries? How successfully they can be treated with Shiatsu? Do you have any success stories? Okay, yeah, okay. That's a good point, because I should have mentioned that at the beginning, that basically when there's severe problems and there's like literally blocks in the system and things like that, that's where Western medicine obviously is going to be most successful, because it can obviously do dramatic things. Shiatsu and TCM are stronger when everything seems fine or things just seem slightly off, and there's not really any Western medicine explanation for it. I mean, I have had some very interesting experiences, that I've had treating obstructions and things like that, but I would say that generally what Shiatsu is best for is these type of conditions, imbalances, and also helping with herbs if it's more of a yin and yang or yin deficiency. I mean, I realize that one of the things I haven't had time for in this webinar, I'll try and do it in a subsequent webinar, is to go more into treatment. And we could discuss different practicalities of how we can treat them. Right, here we go. So I hope that answers your question, Zora. It's definitely something we can talk about later in more detail. Okay, here's Sally. We're running a little bit over time, so I'll just quickly deal with Sally's question. If someone's been emotionally stagnant or repressed for some time, this is your client, Zahara. This is Zahara's client from earlier on. Could the resultant cycle issue be mistaken for perimenopausal symptoms? Well, they can be. They can actually, because quite often what will happen is you'll get heat released. As soon as you start moving liver key, it almost always turns into heat. So you have to be aware of that, when you're treating. Okay, Well, look, we haven't got any time for male infertility. We'll have to leave that for another webinar. I think we'll have to book another webinar for male infertility, review this, and then talk about treatment, because I've got some really good ideas for treatment, okay? You can read out all about this stuff in the handout, get ready for next time, and we'll just schedule another webinar. Okay, let's see what we managed to do this time. Let's see what we've done. Well, we introduced you to the webinar, things we found out quite a bit about you. We've done a bit of relating TCM and Western medicine. We've covered all of these things, which hopefully will be useful and really allow you to think about how you can help your clients and also how you can classify different things that come to you. And Zora, I must mention that Jane Little's book is excellent for more serious things. It's further into the book, there's really interesting case histories all about specific Western medicine diseases of the reproductive system. And this is one thing we haven't managed to do. It's poor old men left out, damn. Okay, we'll have to leave that next time. Okay, so here we are. I'd just like to say thank you so much for coming. We had a really good turnout for this webinar. And if you can get to Norwich this Saturday, we're doing practical work on this theme. So if you're in the UK and you can get up to Norwich, just go on to newenergywork.com and book it. You can book it online, and all the information's there. And then if you can't get to November, then March, we're going to be doing one on childbirth, pregnancy and childbirth. Okay, and also if you're in Italy, which I think a lot of you are, judging by your names, then please come along to my workshops. I've got several workshops being hosted by the European Shiatsu Institute in Rome, November the 21st to 23rd. We'll be covering all this information and also childbirth, pregnancy and childbirth as well. Okay, and that's the end of the webinar. Please fill in our end of webinar survey that you'll get, and we will keep you informed of future webinars. And if you want to unsubscribe, just unsubscribe at any time, but we will put you on our mailing list just to save you having to do that. And thank you for your support. That's great. I want to say thank you to Sahara for helping me out. And yeah, goodbye from the Shiatsu Centre in Norwich. Thank you so much for attending this webinar.